Hi guys, today I'm gonna be talking to you about the author's choices of elements influencing the meaning of the poem Woman by Alice Walker. So just to get a head start here, the speaker of this poem is the author because she uses words like us and mine. And so I think it would be good to begin with the mood and the tone of this poem. So if you don't know it, the tone of a poem is what the author is thinking while writing the poem, and the mood in the contrast is the feeling and sense and the emotion we get from reading the poem. So the tone of this poem is of proudness and being serious and being confident about all the achievements women back in the days did. The mood of this poem is kind of happiness, being gladful, and also proudness and confidence, because that's what you get from reading it. You get like that sense of like all that hard work this woman had to go through. Diction is basically the word choice in the poem. So the author, Alice Walker, uses very powerful diction here, such as battered, head-dragged, generals, booby traps, ditches. These are all words that we reference with war. So this diction is really helpful to give us like this image. Not we don't have to take this like literally like, oh my god, these mothers, they're like at war and they're like fighting. No, 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 because it's just basically all the hard work they had to go through. But this is kind of like a metaphor or like a symbolism to show us like all this hard work they had to go through. So this is why this diction is really powerful, this word choice. Now next we have connotation and denotation. Connotation is when when you like get a word and you get a feeling from it, like home. Home and residence mean exactly the same thing. They have the same denotation, which means the dictionary meaning of it. But the connotation is the feeling you get from it. So from home, you're gonna get like a warm, family-like feeling, and from residence, you're gonna get like a really cold and like pretty place to live in. So there's also connotation in this poem, such as the word fist. So the connotation in fist is like really powerful, corrigible, and like that sense of not warlike but really like strength. That sense of strength and being powerful. However, the denotation of this would be hands, because like hands is just a simple meaning and it's a dictionary reference of it. Now symbolism, well, I think I already touched this a little bit. So basically all these warlike things that are happening in this poem are just a big symbolism of all this hard and tough work these mothers had to put up to. And we know they are talking about mothers because they're talking about like ironing starched white shirts. So like this is a job that mothers do. And it also says my mama's generation. So, and these are all women, and besides, in the end, it quotes, to discover books, that's a place for us. How they knew what we must know without knowing a page of it themselves. They're basically just trying to get their children to a better place, to a brighter future for them to live in. So this is all the symbolism that's about. It's not like they're like the mothers are really at war, but if you take the symbolism of it, it's a mother's life is really tough, and and war just represents how it is kind of. Now we can move on to figurative language or imagery. So here we have this quote that says, with fists as well as hands, how they battered down doors and ironed starched white shirts, how they led armies, head-dragged generals across minefields, booby-trapped ditches. So we get again like a warlike sense of it, like in their like if they're in the middle of a battle or something like that. Um, and so this is an image. We create this image of them like in their tough work, like knocking down doors and things like that. Here I would like to point out a little bit more of the symbolism because this poem is full of symbolism. So these doors they battered down. It's not like they're literally like just like coming through a door and like just knocking it down. No, this has more actual meaning to it. You know how they say like doors are opportunities? Well, they're basically just like opening these doors, and they're really fighting hard. They're just like instead of just saying like they open the doors, they're knocking them. They're knocking them down. They're like opening these opportunities for their children, like really not harshly or violently, but they're like really secure and confident about this, and they just go swash and they open these opportunities for their children. Um, Here are they say armies or headrek generals. What these things represent are actually the same children that they're talking about. And then when they say they discover books and desks, they're kind of talking about they're kind of talking about I'm sorry for that. They're kind of they're kind of talking about education, since we since books are the education that children need, and also desks. But this we might not have to take this as literal as just going to school, but all of the life lessons children learn, and all of the things that at the end of the day, mothers want their children to know and to learn for their future. So the rhythm of this poem is not really like that smooth and like quiet, but it's more like confident and straightforward. So I'm gonna read a couple of verses to you so you can like get the sense of what I'm saying right now. They were women then, my mama's generation, husky of voice, stout of step, with fists as well as hands. How they battered down doors and iron starch white shirts. If you like keep on reading it yourself, you're gonna get this sense of it. It's not violent, but it's straightforward and it's really confident and it's telling you ta da ta da ta da ta da ta da ta da ta. Because it's kind of like what the poem's about, it being like confident and secure and saying this poem like straightforward. So something else I wanted to touch here is kind of like the meaning of this poem. So as you know, back in the days, it was harder for women to like move on with their families. Like more if they were single mothers. Not that this poem is addressing like a type of mother specifically. It's moms in general. So it was really hard for them, and it recalls they were women then, my mama's generation, referring to that right now in the present days, women might not be like as fighting or like it might not be that they're not like putting like so much effort, but like circumstances nowadays are easier for women than they were back then. However, back then they really had to like stand up tall and really defend their children against like all of these things that could have happened, and really like set their children to a brighter future. So it's not saying that this generation they are not as fighting or like that. Well, maybe it kind of tells it in a sense, but it's just like addressing and like recalling how back then women really had to fight for their kids because they really loved them and really wanted to protect them. So that's kind of like the meaning of this, that back then women would fight more. So I think here in this poem, it's really a cute little poem about that has a really powerful meaning, and that's sure to make like really many women proud, and more like women from back in the days, like for example grandmothers that they really know. And sometimes as a reader, like reading these, you don't really understand it when your grandmother's or like somebody tells you it was hard before. But however, this poem kind of like takes you like with all this imagery, all this symbolism, and all this metaphor to like the warlike ambient that these mothers had to go through in those times. So yeah, this is a really powerful poem. So it really gives you like a lot of emotions and things that you might not get from a full conversation with your grandmother, like telling you, well, it was hard before having kids and being a mother. So this is why this poem is like really powerful. It just creates you this image and this like reality for many women back in the days, and not just like in America, but like in many other countries, like Latin countries. This is just a poem dedicated to hard, the hardworking women of back in the days, um, all around the world, because motherhood is a reality that happens like everywhere. And this is why I find this poem really interesting. So instead of just saying they worked really hard, they had to like clean the whole house and things like that, they use this really incredible symbolism. Alice Walker uses this really incredible symbolism of booby trap ditches, armies, generals, that just show us like this hard work without necessarily like giving us like this image that these mothers are at work. So that's kind of like what I had to say about this poem. So this is kind of like as a daughter, um, this is really interesting because of the last few lines. I'm gonna quote them. How they knew that, how they knew what we must know without knowing a page of it themselves. So it kind of shows how like us as children, we have more privileges than what um, they had, because they worked really hard to give us those privileges, and we wouldn't be where we are if this person that loved us so much wouldn't have put all this time and effort on all these things to just make us advance in life. So it's really special and really makes you think, well, like our mothers, our grandmothers, our great great grandmothers, like whichever woman that really like loved us and really cared for us. Um, it was not just a simple job of washing the dishes, or how it says here, ironing starch white shirts, but it was like a really tough job. So we might just see mothers as just doing the dishes, but it's really more about that. It's really about like taking your kids forward in life, and yeah, things like that. So that's kind of my personal opinion about this, and I hope you really enjoyed it, because I had a really fun time saying this, and so yes, and thank you.